Hi, this is Christy with ALT Color Lab, and I just wanted to share with you a little bit of information that we learned this summer at MVP put on by PhotoLinks. We got to ask two principals some questions that I believe is very important for photographers to listen to. Our first principal is Lisa. She's the principal at a K through 6th grade public elementary school with 740 students, 70 staff, and a $289,000 a year operating budget. The second one, his name is Tim. He's the principal of a continuing education high school of 180 students and 15 staff. What I would like for you to pay attention to in these videos is what your principals are looking for from a photographer and some alternatives to paying commissions, which will help your pocketbook.
So first things first, it's very important to me how people from the outside come in and treat my staff. If you are rude to my secretary, you will never get anywhere with me. If you are rude to my custodian, you will never get anywhere with me. And if you are rude to my students or my teachers, you will never get past me, ever. Respect, respect, respect. I need you to be respectful. Yeah. I need you to be professional. And I need you to be ethical.
Well, at my school, number one thing that I want to make sure that the campus is safe and secure, because if it's not, kids are going to be uncomfortable. I'm very big on climate and culture. Kids need to know that it's a welcoming place to be. And then it's about student engagement and the student instruction.
You never mentioned pictures one time in there. What's up with that?
Schools weren't created for pictures.
Hallelujah.
When you're at a smaller school like that, you wear more hats. At my school, yeah, I might be the principal, I'm the counselor, I'm the custodian, I'm a little bit of everything. So yeah, I have a little bit more involvement. At a larger school, that's not going to be the case. There's usually somebody else other than the principal that is handling the pictures.
And you were at your elementary school?
So I was not involved in pictures until I saw something I didn't like, and then I got very involved in pictures and I switched my company that I use.
It's not a waste of time, but you're probably not going to get to me. Just to be honest, I don't have time to talk about pictures when I got test scores that I need to be concerned about. I got safety and security issues that I need to be concerned about. If I have a teacher that is doing something inappropriate that I need to take care of, those obviously rise to the top of the priority.
And in your prior to working in the school environment you're currently working in, I know you were in schools with 3,000 students, 3,000 plus heads. How often did the process of working through the picture thing cross the principal's desk or even a vice principal's desk, unless there was an issue?
Unless there was an issue.
Right.
Really.
It didn't come across your desk.
It may come across my desk for approval. But usually my activities director, in some cases it's the vice principal, student accounts person may handle it, but I was kept abreast of what was going on.
Okay.
Surprisingly enough, it's about the same. Everything's going to go through my admin assistant. So if you haven't won over with my admin assistant, you're probably not going to get far.
So yes, my secretary is a boss, and she protects me at all costs. So her whole job is to make sure I'm freed up of the minutia of everything that comes at me, the amount of emails I get, the amount of people calling for me, the amount of people coming and leaving their business card is tremendous. So she's the weeder of information.
The gatekeeper.
She's the gatekeeper. And I trust her. No.
No, because she won't bear the consequences of the decision. So I'm not going to allow somebody to make a decision for me, and I'm going to have to deal with the consequences of it.
So on both parties, the secretary is not authorized to make a decision. However, from what I heard, I trust my secretary implicitly and explicitly with my email and with all communications regarding school business, and therefore I trust their judgment to pass to me that person that they would like to work with. Is that a reasonable assessment?
Yes.
Okay.
I want my kids to look good, and I want it to be high quality. I could care less how you get to that point, but when you deliver the product, it needs to be high quality.
Agreed. Well, this year, like I said, I was unhappy with the company we were using, and I would have never known if it had not come to my attention from my secretary. And so once I heard from my secretary that things weren't as they should be, I made sure I was there at picture day. I made sure I documented what time they came. They were an hour late. I documented how they appeared. I stayed in there and listened to how they spoke with kids. They changed people's hair. Big no-no, don't touch kids' hair. Lots of things happened that made me, some red flags went up. They looked very unprofessional. They were not friendly with children. And so that's when I stepped in and I started looking elsewhere for other photography companies. And I happened to have a connection with one that I went with. And when he came and met with me, he had a wide array of samples. The pictures looked really a lot more. I heard parents say they want more candid photos. It looked much more candid. The lighting was much better. It didn't really look like a school picture, which to me was appealing because school pictures have looked the same for 100 years. So he was available. He always answered my emails the same day. I could get a hold of him on the phone. He was flexible. He had other services to offer. I wanted a school banner for the auditorium. He was able to do that. So it's some of the other things that go along with it. What kind of services and how available are you? Now, I will be passing this on to my parents who are in charge of yearbook and photography and all of those things. But I wanted to make sure that I was getting someone who I felt comfortable with and who I knew would provide a product and not the person I had assumed they're always going to take school pictures and they're always going to use us, so they didn't work very hard at it.
How fast, when you put it in your schedule to take time to be there during the day, we've already heard that it should be low priority. How fast did it, or how long did it take you when you observed what was going on before you said to yourself, I'm getting someone else?
That day.
That day. Picture day, delivery didn't matter. They could have cleaned up the whole mess on the back end. It wouldn't matter because the crew didn't support the needs of the children and the teachers and the staff in a manner that she expected them to support.
What do you guys do and what do you prefer?
Single.
I would prefer the single year contract, but it depends on the relationship that myself or whoever is making contact with the photography company, how that goes, but I prefer single year.
I wouldn't go through that. I don't have time to go through that whole process again. If I'm happy with your services, I'm going to continue with you.
One of
For
the things,
for me, in the same, I'm probably the same. If everything was great with the photography company, parents were happy with the photographs, they met the needs of the contract, then I would be definitely open to rolling over.
One of the things, and it's easy, and Pat, it's a great question. You know, multi-year contracts, there are some education code, and I don't remember it, but from many years ago, in California, multi-year contracts aren't supposed to be signed for this service. Because it's a student government service, the school is not spending money, it has to fall under a different set of guidelines for decision making. And most photographers aren't aware of it, and certainly most administrators aren't aware of it, because they do what's been done in the past. So one of the things that we have is a rollover in our written agreements, and you know, many of us have unwritten agreements, but what we have is a rollover, and as of January 15th, if all services went well, you know, let us know if there's something wrong, but as of January 15th, we're booking you, you're on the calendar for the next year. And we contact them, make sure everything's copacetic, make sure the date was good, we'll just do the same day of the same week, etc. But it's just a clause in the contract that they're very much aware. We don't get a call, it's just a rollover in light of what he said, but it's more codified so they can have an escape clause. And that is not an illegal, you know, that's not against code of education.
For me, yeah, it would factor in a little bit. Depends on the relationship that I have with the rep from both sides. That would be one thing. I am supportive of mom and pop shops in my area. So for me, knowing I like service, I know I'm going to get better service from a smaller company than a larger company. I've had the opportunity to work with Life Touch, and I've also had the opportunity to work with other smaller. And the services weren't there from the Life Touch that I got from my other small companies.
So I would agree with that. I just went from a global company to a local company.
Opportunity, folks. Opportunity.
And on top of that, that's the reason why we don't sign yearly. That's why we sign yearly contracts. Is when my administrative contract is yearly. You better believe I work my butt off to keep that contract, not because just that, I love what I do, but when you sign a multi-year contract with somebody, the first year they're great, and then, we got them for 5 years, I'm not coming back until I have to renew that contract. You work harder for something when you know that each year it's going to be revisited and looked at. Yes, and also we have something called the Raptor system. Even my photographers who come on campus, they have to sign into that Raptor system, and it's a national database. And daily I get hits that someone who is a sexual offender is trying to sign into my campus. It's usually incorrect. It's someone who has the same name as someone else, but I have to clear that. So we have a double layer of protection there.
As for our district, before you can come in and work with the schools, you have to be cleared by our district. You have to be cleared at the district level, and then you can sign your contract to work within schools.
The services. I do not make money off my pictures or my yearbooks. I don't think it's the place. I'm with you on the whole safety thing. I'm very particular about who's on my campus, and one of the things that I'm big on is whenever you're around children, you are an adult role model. So that's my number one thing. How do you interact with the students at my school? You have to remember that you're coming into an atmosphere of teachers and an administrator, that our whole world revolves around kids and making sure they're safe, happy, socially, emotionally. Photographers, I've heard some horrible things come out of photographers' mouth to a child. And that's like the number one no-no, that you're there to take pictures, to smile. So my number one thing is service, and how you interact with the parents. You have parent volunteers that come to help and support. Are you helpful with them? Are you accommodating to what you can be accommodating with? It's all about attitude and how you present yourself on a school campus. Another thing that's really important to me is you have to recognize that you're coming onto a campus in which scheduling is everything. And being on time and adhering to that schedule, when you don't, it messes up everybody's recesses, it messes up lunchtime. You have parent volunteers running around trying to find classes because they're out on the playground. So it's really important to me that a schedule is kept.
You know, it's
Hold
interesting.
on, Calvin, I want to touch on that from a middle school and a high school perspective that have a lot of activities. Some of the services that I would be looking for is print services that I would not have to pay for otherwise out of my budget. So if there is, we have a dance tickets, if we are having a play, posters, things that I don't have to pay for other services outside of that. If I'm not getting the kickback, then I definitely want to look at that.
Which matters more to you, the rebate or the service? And your answer was?
Services.
You know, guys, we as an industry attempt to operate like we're 50 years ago. The reality is we've had a declining sales market for a long time, and it's starting to track back up. That's the reason people spend $2.7 billion, is because they see stability and long-term growth for the industry. We need to understand that. We also need to understand that the amount of money that we give a school on a budget, what is your annual budget at that 700 student school?
Well, because I have some carryover, it's about $289,000.
No, total operating with staff, salaries and all.
That's not in my budget.
Okay.
Their salaries are within the district, and then I'm given my school budget.
Okay, but the 200, what was it?
About 289.
289,000. 2,800 is 1%.
And toilet paper is really expensive, by the way.
So, and you're right. Those are operational costs.
I'm not kidding.
And what she just said, if you bring her 10 cases of toilet paper, you probably would impress her.
That might work.
I'm dead serious.
Or a big giant box of Xerox paper.
Do you hear what we're hearing here? I've been preaching this, I've been sharing this for a long time. We perceive that the dollars that we give back, while they hurt because they are hard dollars, we can buy goods at wholesale and pass them off at hard dollar value, but we're not going to pay as much in what we're calling a kickback or rebate or a percentage. There used to be kickbacks. That was back in the days, the good old days of the mafia. Those kickbacks were unrestricted and unsubmitted funds oftentimes. It was buy the school. Hey, I got $1,000 for you. You want to go to Hawaii with your wife? Give me the contract. Those days might exist for some. They don't exist for me, never have. But the key component here is, I hear this commission discussion. Oh, isn't that money important to you? Isn't that money important to you? It's not important to them. They want love for their kids. They want to have a school that looks good, the branding, the marketing, the whole uplift of the school community. That's what's more important to an administrator. Quite frankly, to the office manager, the athletic director, the activities director, we can go down the line and tell you it's more important that they get services that cost us a lot less than the hard dollars.
What we would like to help you do is help your schools get what they want. With technologies like our new HP Indigo printer, we can help you provide services to your schools while getting away from the traditional commission model. So take the time, give me a call, and let's talk this out. I hope you have a great fall season.